Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yugioh Everything, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh video. So we got a bunch of new fusion monsters announced. It seems every single important character in the Yu-Gi-Oh! 7's anime is getting a fusion monster geared to them. Now there's a few things that we can learn and inquire from these fusion monsters about how fusions going forward probably are going to work in Yu-Gi-Oh! Rush Duel, and I guess we will begin the speculation as to whether we will see any of these cards in the anime. Now, I do believe there's a very good chance we will see all of these cards. The main four are getting a fusion monster, as well as Nail, Asana, and Roa. Nail, Asana, and Roa have established themselves as probably the most important three characters outside of our main group of four, and so it's fitting that they are getting fusions. And without further ado, we have a lot to go over. We're just going to get into it. So here is Yuga's fusion monster. If you are familiar with Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s or Rush Duels, you'll know that he has a pretty vanilla cat monster called Stray Familiar. Well, this one is called Stray Familia, and to fusion summon it, you need to have 2 Stray Familiars on your field. So remember, and this is where, we kind of have to erase our preconceived memory of what fusion is, because the way that you need to summon these cards in Rush Duels via fusion is to have them on your field. You cannot have 2 Stray Familiar in your hand, as well as the fusion spell card, and then summon Stray Familia by sending cards from your hand to grave. You need to summon the 2 Stray Familiar, you need to summon the 2 cats, and then play fusion to get Stray Familia onto the field. And that's the case with all of these fusion monsters. So there's barely any attack to this one. It is a defensive wall. It has a pretty okay effect. You choose one normal monster in your graveyard and you special summon it. If the special summon monster was Stray Familiar, the card gains 1400 attack until the end of this turn. So maybe if you have a combo with like Sword and Shield where you can maybe swap the attack and defense, you can get a pretty strong beater here, but I feel like that's a very specific requirement. This is probably just a very good card to have for stall play, as 2600 defense is a very good wall. But that is Yuga's fusion. Probably, design-wise, probably my least favorite design-wise, to be completely honest. So, and I'm going to tell you what my favorites are, and, I'll have all these articles linked down below because they are all separate articles. But the second fusion monster is Rook's, and it is Dragon's Kick Base Master. So the 2 monsters that you need to summon this are Dragon's Upsetter and Dragon's Striker, 2 sport-themed dragons, and you have the motif of sports in this card as well, as this is clearly a reference to football or soccer here in America. The dragon is clearly doing a kick, which looks really, really cool. You can activate the effect by shuffling a dragon's set-upper or defender from your graveyard into the deck, and if you do that, you can choose and destroy 1 spell or trap card your opponent controls. There's other cards in Rush Duels that pop back row. It would have been, I think, much more worthwhile if it maybe wiped the entire back row of your opponent, or maybe 2 cards, or maybe any card on the field so you could get rid of a monster as well. I don't think the effect for the requirements for this particular fusion is really that good. Again, I'm still kind of new to Rush Duels. I don't know what's necessarily a good or bad effect, but this one just doesn't seem that worth it to me. But still a cool fusion for Rook. Moving on to Romin. You need to fusion a Musy Performer and Howling Bird in order to summon a Musy Howling Performer with 2500 attack. To get the effect off, you need to place an Musy Performer or Howling Bird from your grave to the bottom of your deck. Those cards will obviously be in your grave if you fusion this, and you can inflict 800 points of damage to your opponent. Pretty good beat stick. 2500 attack, as we know in Rush Duels, is very, very good, but I feel like the effect is not that great. There's not really any protection for this card, and again, to get it onto the field, it just seems like a lot of these fusions, in my opinion, are a little more trouble than they're worth, which I don't mind. And I think a big reason for that is there is no, at this moment, generic fusions, and that is a big takeaway from this. And as we go on with the other fusion monsters, there are going to be no generic fusions, which I like. It's more difficult, and it's very reminiscent of old style Yu-Gi-Oh! Like 2003, 2004, where almost every fusion monster were specific monster cards. So I really do like that a lot. I think it really does limit the explosive potential of fusion, which is good, because you don't want to introduce a mechanic that's going to kind of break the game and have everyone playing it. So I do like that aspect of it a lot. Going to Gakuto, whose fusion has the longest name, Kengo Shogun of the Crescent Moon. To summon this, you need to fuse Masaki, the legendary samurai general, and Hero of the Yeast. Its effect prevents this card from being destroyed by traps as long as you send the top card of your deck to the grave. And that effect is only for the turn that you do that for. So, at least it gives you some protection. I think this is actually a pretty decent fusion monster, because not only does it protect itself from traps, but it also has 2600 attack, which again is a lot of attack points. So I feel like this is a pretty solid beat stick monster for Gakuto, and it's one of my favorites. It might be my favorite design of the main four. But now we move on to Roa, Asana, and Nail. Roa's fusion monster, I believe, has the most attack with 2700, and it is Fierstute Fall Owl. You need to fuse Fall Owl of the Four Nether and Fall Owl of Wisdom. Pretty interesting requirements for Roa's fusion. And the effect allows you to choose a Fiend-type monster in your grave and special summon it to your side of the field. And you can activate this effect during the main phase that this was fusion summoned. So if you have one of those really big, really strong, classic Roa Kirishima fusion monsters in your grave, this is a great play, because not only do you get a 2700 attack point beater, but you can also resurrect any Fiend-type monster in your grave. It's not level 4 or lower. It's not level 5 or lower. It's any Fiend-type monster. So any one of Roa's big, strong aces, you can resurrect using this monster's effect. So I feel like this is a pretty decent card for Roa's deck. Up next is Nail's fusion monster, and that is Permalined Hycrotron. Definitely said that wrong. Leave it to Nail to have a very weird-sounding monster name. It's just, you know, what Nail does. You have to fuse Femtron and Cycloptron, and you can activate the effect of this monster if there are 3 or more effect monsters, if they're Cybers type, in your grave. You can draw 2 cards, then choose 1 card from your hand and place it on the bottom of the deck. So in a way, this is kind of like a Graceful Charity effect, right, where you draw 3, you get rid of 2. In this case, you draw 2, you get rid of 1, but you don't have to get rid of one of the 2 that you drew. So I feel like this is a pretty good card in giving you draw power. If maybe you have a maximum monster mixed in there, you can draw 2 cards for free, basically, if you already have a card in your hand that you're not going to use. So I feel like that is a pretty solid draw effect. But again, with Rush Duels, you can draw so much that how good are draw effects really? So I really don't know if this is a great monster. 2600 attack, though. It is pretty interesting. I do like the design. But the next design, save the best for last. This is by far my favorite designed fusion monster that we have in the game so far. I don't know what I love about it, but I absolutely love Asana's fusion monster, Winged Celestial Dragon of Whale and Woe. And to fusion summon this, you need to fuse Coiled Dragon of Fertility and Coiled Dragon of Destruction. You can activate this card's effect by shuffling 1 worm-type monster from your grave into the deck, and then you can send the top 3 cards of your deck to the grave. If you send a spell card to the grave with this effect, you can choose up to 2 field spells in your grave and add them to your hand. So if you are running a deck with a lot of field spells or a very important field spell to get your deck moving, this is a great monster to summon. Don't know how great the effect is. Again, one of the weaker attack stats for the fusion monsters that we've gotten. I think Yuga is the only one that has a weaker fusion monster in terms of attack. Rooks might also be 2300, but there is just something about this design. This is easily my favorite fusion monster in the game right now, design-wise, and I pray to the Lord that we see Asana use this monster in her next duel or sometime in Season 2. There's just the color scheme. I don't know. There's just something about this monster that I absolutely love, and I would say that I did save the best for last here. For me, Asana's fusion monster is my favorite of the bunch. But you guys let me know what fusion monsters you think are really good effect-wise, and what fusion monsters design-wise are your favorite and least favorite. Another important thing, none of these fusion monsters have 2 effects. So I wonder if it's going to be exclusive to cyborgs, where cyborgs are the only monster type that are allowed to have 2 different effects. I would like that a lot from not only a game perspective, but even from an anime storytelling perspective. Like, cyborgs are the kings of fusion because you get 2 effects and you get to choose which one you want to use, whereas the other fusion monsters only get 1 effect. So that's an interesting thing to see. Will we have some non-cyborg monsters that have multiple effects, or will that be a unique aspect of the cyborg type? I hope it's a unique aspect of the cyborg type. But guys, let me know all your thoughts on all of these fusion monsters coming to Yu-Gi-Oh! Rush Duels and hopefully Yu-Gi-Oh! 7s. I'm excited to hear which ones you like the most down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and a special thank you to my Platinum tier patrons, Horace Maye, Goosey Q, Panther J, Blue Maiden 28, and Jarrett Buller, and to my Diamond tier patrons, Jesse Wood and Latrell Smith. Thank you to everyone who supports me on Patreon and who is a YouTube channel member. There are some really cool perks associated with being a patron of mine or being a YouTube channel member. I definitely encourage you to check them out. And to everyone that has supported me through those means, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I stream on Twitch, I'm on Twitter, and I'm on Instagram. Links for all those will be down below. Once again, thank you for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day.